Today's lesson is on three-dimensional figures, or we call these 3D solids. Okay, I want to be able to classify the figures. I want to be able to determine whether the figure is a polyhedron or not a polyhedron. I want to be able to describe the cross-sections of solids. Okay, so a three-dimensional figure, 3D figure, or another word is, we call this a solid, is bounded or contained by flat or curved surfaces that enclose a single region of space. A polyhedron is a solid that is bounded by polygons called faces. So an edge of a polyhedron is a line segment intersecting two faces. So let's start out with a face is a plane. So here's a face, that's a whole plane. I have multiple faces on here. So that's a face. This is a face. This is a face. So all the planes are a face, plus the ones behind. Okay, so we're just going to talk about this one first. So this one is the face. And that is what we have been calling a plane in geometry. Next, I have an edge. An edge is a line segment formed by the intersection of two faces. So this is called an edge, which is a segment. And then last, I have a vertex of a polyhedron, where is a point where three or more edges meet. So this is a vertex, which is a point. Okay, so polyhedra are formed by polygons. So whatever is not a polygon, all polygons, is not a polyhedra. So on the left, everything that is making up the solid is a polygon. They're all edges and faces. Anything that's not a polyhedron has curves. Okay, so I have curves here on the cylinder, I have curves here on the cone, and curves here on the sphere. Okay, so over here, when I am talking about polyhedra, the base is some type of polygon. Okay, so in this one, here's the base. Over here is the base. Here, for the not polyhedra, the base is either a circle or there is no base for the sphere. Okay. So we have 5 types of solids: prism, pyramid, cylinder, cone, and sphere. All right, let's start out with the prisms. The prisms are named by the base. Okay. A prism has 2 bases. So it's named by the base, that the bases are parallel and congruent. So on this solid, the base is a triangle, so it's called a triangular prism. So I change the word triangle, which is a noun, to an adjective. Here, my base is a rectangle. So the bases are parallel and congruent to each other. So my base is a rectangle, so I have a rectangular prism. Here I have 5 sides. So my base is a pentagon, so pentagonal prism. So sometimes I end in ULAR and sometimes I end in AL for an adjective. So this one has my 6 sides. So my 6 sides is called a hexagon. So I have a hexagonal prism. Now pyramids have 2 bases. I'm sorry, prisms have 2 bases, but a pyramid has 1 base and an apex. Okay, so here's an apex and 1 base. So here's my triangle base is across from the apex. Rectangular base is across from the apex. Pentagonal base is across from the pentagon. Hexagonal pyramid, so the hexagon is across from the apex. Okay, so prisms have 2 bases that are parallel and congruent. Pyramids have 1 base, and it's across from the apex or the high point. All right, so let's classify. Do I have a polyhedron or not a polyhedron? And if I do have a polyhedron, what's the name? So I'm looking at my first one here, and all the faces are polygons. So yes, I have a polyhedron. So I can pick these 2 as my bases. So I have a prism, since I have 2 bases, and I name it by the base. So this is a rectangle. So this is a rectangular prism. Next one, I have an apex here and 1 base. So I know I have a pyramid. So I'm going to count the sides. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So since n equals 6, it's a hexagonal pyramid. Okay, so I name it by the base. Next one. This is my base is a circle. So this is a cone. So it is not a polyhedron because all of the faces are not polygons. All right, next we're going to talk about cross sections. So this is if I am going to cut something. So if I have a cross section of a cube here, so here's my cube. If I cut it with this plane, this is my cross section here, is a square. So my cube are all equal sides, so the cross section is a square. So if I take my cube and cut it on a diagonal, now I have this as my cross section, which is a rectangle. Because all my sides are not the same. So this is going to look more like this. Here, if I just take a cross section of a chunk here, this would be a triangle. Okay, so let's try again. What about A? What is my cross section here? So this would be my cross section here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So since n equals 6, that's a hexagon. Here, this is going to be n equals 3. Well, that's a triangle. Here, this is going to be n equals 4. That's a rectangle. Here on my cone, this is a circle. Here on my sphere, this is a circle. And here, this looks like this, which is a trapezoid. Okay, that's it.